Okay, so today's sharing is a continuation on what we have been discussing so far. This is an intermediate level. I guess we would like to just take on more case studies. But while we are at it, I just want to share a bit about the a branch of Western metaphysics, which is called sacred geometry, also initiated by Plato in part of the Greek philosophy thousands of years ago. And here, of course, even if you Google, you can find that Nikola Tesla, has also tried to venture into this, what they call the 3, 6, and 9. Now, not to go too deep into this, because we wanted to stay relevant to Chinese metaphysics, the concept of 3, 6, and 9, and also what we have is something along the line of the Tai Chi, where we can say that at the beginning, 0 become 1, and 1 like a cell, like a human cell, when one cell divides into 2 and 2 split into 4, 2 cells will split into 4, and 4 cells will then split into 8, 8. And when 8 break into 8, break into 16. 16, of course, will then break into 32. And 32, of course, will then come back to 64. Now here, as we look into 16, and of course, based on what they call vortex mathematics, 1 plus 6 is 5. Right? 1 plus 6 is 5. So therefore, that will be the way you can, sorry, 1 plus 6 is 7. I beg your pardon. 1 plus 6 is 7. Of course, 3 plus 2 is 5. And then we come back to 6 plus 4, which is, of course, 10, which is then 1. We'll come back to 1. So therefore, here, the number in vortex mathematics will be 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. 1, 3, 5, 7, 5. And of course, here, when they look at it, the numbers that are missing will then be the number which is 3, because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got a number which is 6, which is then 7, 8, and then numbers which is 9. And so in a way, maybe it is not, I'm not very good at explaining vortex mathematics here, but I just want to share a little bit that the number 3, 6, and 9 has a significance even in the case for aligning to the Chinese metaphysics. Now, in the case of Mings, if you follow our previous Professor David Koh and also Professor Joe, the Mings, geomancy science, introduced the numbering of the R, the R1 to R12 from the root based on the animal sign. And therefore here, would like to also share, if you can, we bring along the, you take a look into the last page of the, the last page of the handout today, the last page of the material that was given to you will then be this earthly branch relationship that I've given. Okay, so let's take a look into running through the sample here. As I run through the sample here, let me just go to adopt one of the animals. Let's say, for example, if we would like to, we can take a look at a particular case study. Let's say we take this person, for example. So when I shared this on the YouTube, I think there were 1 or 2 comments who asked this to be, for their charts to be read. So as you read this chart, let us take a look at this person, which is a pink, which is a pink day master. Of course, we will go through what we have normally done, the season, the strength of the day master, the rooting, the penetrating chi. You can look into the useful God to support our findings as well. Right, before we do that, let's take a look into mapping out. The mapping out onto number 1. We can start with, let's say, for example, the day. We can take a look into the day. We can take a look into the day, so-called root, the day branch, and it is a horse. It is a horse. And based on a horse, as we know, horse is 7. So horse is R7. So you can see that horse, according to the area, is the 7th animal into it. Okay, now let's try to take an experiment. If I were to take a 7th, what makes a 7th into one of the numbers which is 3, 6, and 9? Let's say, for example, if I were to take 7 minus 1, I get 6. If I take 7 minus 4, I get 3. If I take 7 plus 2, I get 9. All right? Would that be something that I hope you can appreciate? If I take something like 10 minus 7, I get 3. I get 3. Right. So therefore, you can play around. We can play around with the combination. Therefore, if we have horse, which is 7, then of course, when we look into, as we know, the animal that is the zodiac animal that is directly opposing to it will then be, in a way, it's like your 7 killing, isn't it? The 7th, which is then 7 minus 1, which is 6. Therefore, that is your clash. And we also remember that the one that forms 90 degree is your destruction. Is your destruction. And therefore, as we want to map it out, we can then consider what are the elements. So in that case here, as we look into the horse, and we can then say 7 and 1. 7 and 1. So coming back to the graph, 7 and 1, what do we have? So if we have here, look into the graph, we can then see that number 1, 7 is horse. And so 7 and 1, there is a clash. So 7 and 1, there is a clash. Okay, so the 369, except for hum, hum is a bit different. Yeah, we can see that number 1. So 7 and 1, there is a clash. I believe there is also another number that we have seen, which is 7 and 4. So 7 and 4, which is destruction. 7 and 4, which is destruction. Come into it. All right, and if you could remember horse is part of the what combo? What combination does horse form? Which is your yin, wu, shi. So therefore, that would be your tiger, the 3, 7, 11. So I think this has been some time ago that we have more or less used number. We used number to come in, which is 3, 7, 11. So 3, 7, 11. So 3, 7, 11, where 3 represents your tiger, your yin, and of course the horse is wu, and this is your, which is your dog. So 3, 7, 11. Now, of course, if you use Vortex mathematics once again, 3 plus 7 is 10 plus 1 and 1, or if 121 is then, of course, equals to 3. So therefore, the 3 combination, 3, 7, 11, when you add them up, Vortex mathematics, you still get the number 3. So therefore, that's a 3 combination that we have as well. Then of course, 7 plus 2 is 9. And so when we look into this part, we also have 7 plus 2, which is then a hum. You can see that there is also a hum here. There's a hum. And horse, of course, is also a punishment. Horse and horse is self-punishment. Okay, so horse and horse is self-punishment. Okay, so this represents the interaction of the horse, the interaction of the earth branch with the following, with the other following so-called animal signs that we have. Right. So therefore, we can look into what are the impact to the day branch. We can also look into the impact to, let's say, for example, the rabbit. So you can see here once again, the rabbit. So what number is the rabbit? What number is the rabbit? The rabbit is 4. Right, okay, that's right. the rabbit is 4. So therefore, as you can see, the rabbit is 4. So let's play once, I wouldn't say play, let's again play with the numbers 4. Well, 4 minus 1 is 3. 4 plus 2 is 6. 4 plus 2 is 6. You want 4 plus 5? 4 plus 5 is 9. Yeah, so you can actually try to find other combinations that you can think of. Well, 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. We can also think of that. Well, then 7 minus 4 is 3. 7 minus 4 is 3. And so therefore, we can mix and match the number to come to discover whether we can form the number 3, 6, 9. 3, 6, and 9. We can also set 4 and 11. 4 plus 11. And again, 11 is vortex mathematics. So 4 plus 1 is 6, as it is. So therefore, 369. So we can find that the 369 comes into play. Okay, so here, as we move along, we can then see what happens if it is 1. So 1 is rat. So what is the relationship between rabbit and rat? Punishment. So rabbit and rat, this will be punishment. Right. So we can see that 4 and 11, of course, is dog. Therefore, this is combo. So therefore, this is your combo as it is. So we can see what is 4 and 5. 4 and 5, harm. So therefore, rabbit and dragon, there is a harm. So 4 and 5, there is a harm. Tent. So you can take rabbit and tent. Rabbit and tent, of course, will be typically your clash. 6, of course, would normally be a clash. Then, of course, we then have your 7. 7, of course, is your horse. That represents your destruction. So 7 represents your destruction. So as we map out all the various branches relationship where we have your clash, destruction, combo, harm, punishment, so we can find that has it is. Now, interestingly, I would say that between rabbit and the ox, there is not mentioned. There is not mentioned. So rabbit and the ox, there is no observed in any literature. But of course, what I try to believe is that Chinese metaphysics is not Chinese metaphysics is meta science, and part of science is that the body of knowledge should be evolving. Body of knowledge should be evolving, and so perhaps we should do more experiment, do more observation to see perhaps there might actually be something here. But do bear in mind, of course, that when we look into Chinese metaphysics, it has evolved over the period from the Ming Dynasty to from the Tang Dynasty, Liu Po and all the and Zhuge Liang with and over the hundreds of years, thousands of years, the application do evolve. And so who knows? Maybe we can try to see that we might establish something. But anyway, I'm confident. That because sometimes we don't have all the answers yet, or we don't have all the readings yet to get it into the. And so here, now in a way, if you look into 3, 6, and 9, of course we know that when we come into the full circle, we come into the full circle, all these 3, 6, and 9, of course, as we know, is that when you take 360 degree, and of course, when you divide by the 12 animals, each of them is 30 degree, 30 degree. And a certain direction, of course, if I take x, if I take sine of x, and then if I take cosine of x plus 180 degree, you actually get 0. That means in terms of energy, it actually eliminates one another, something like that. All right, so anyway, that would be just looking into like what we discussed in the last session about destruction, about clash, and about combination, and so on. So we do find that this table that's given to you, this table is given to you, is of course the summary of all the relationship between one animal with the other animal. And of course, if it is a bit too much, if it is a bit too many to remember, then one of the easiest way to find out is that when the animal interact with one another, that produces a 3, a 6, or a 9, there is a relationship. There is some very strong energy. Whether the energy eliminates one another, whether the energy wipes out one another, or it antagonizes or it creates that kind of a vibration energy that activates the person's natal chart. Now here, of course, when you look at it, certain words in English, like punishment, harm, and clash, sounds negative. Words like combo sounds positive. But let it be known, of course, that all these words, clash, harm, destruction, they should be treated neutral, because if your useful god is destroyed, of course that would be harmful. But what happens if it is your obstacle, something that block your chart, that is being destroyed, and that becomes a favorable reading. Therefore, on the first instant, punishment, harm, clash, destruction should not be read like as though it is immediately negative. It should be first of all read as neutral, even though the experience may appear to be negative, but sometimes the end results from it could be positive. Sometimes, like they said, the rainbow comes after the rain. So therefore, uh, like people who have lost their jobs, but after they have lost their jobs, they then learn certain lessons that they can then improve on themselves in their next job, and then from there they prosper to come into it. And so that is when we want to run through the obstacles. Okay, so this will be a very quick one to look at it. And of course, what is the rabbit combination? Rabbit combination is your Hai Ma Wei, which is your pig, rabbit, and goat, isn't it? So therefore, your pig, rabbit, and goat. There's your 11, 4, and 8. So therefore, rabbit, Hai Ma Wei is your 11, is 12. 12. So therefore, the pig, your rabbit, and your goat. And your goat. And so, of course, once again, if you add this all up, 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 5, combine together 6. Vortex mathematics. So therefore, 4, 8, 1, and 2. So 4, 8, 1, and 2 is 15. 15. 25. 25. Of course, then you add them together, you get back 6. Vortex mathematics looks in this particular light. Okay, so that is why sometimes there is another school outside there that take away all the Chinese names, and then they call it the inverted triangle. They have something called inverted triangle, where they take your date of birth and then they calculate to a particular number, and then they also try to have relationship. So in a way, we can see that it does boils down to mathematics. It boils down to mathematics in a way to look into the direction of the energy. So why do I want to do that? Because once we have the formula, once we can learn to calculate a little bit, therefore this is where we can use Feng Shui, placement direction, to basically deactivate or activate certain energy of ours that comes into play. Okay, so let's take a look into this chart, shall we? Where we have this person. So first and foremost, let's run through what we have done so far all this while. Step number 1, the seasoned. season is spring. Mao is the peak of spring, and this person is a pink fire, so immediately, first and foremost, strong or otherwise. So therefore, that's quite a strong day master. So now we understand that this person is a strong day master. And secondly, of course, is routing. Is there routing? There is no. I think it's penetrated. So therefore, it's a bit of a penetrated. So penetrated chi, strong chi. So number one, we then appreciate that this is a pink fire day master. So as we know, in very typical stereotype, strong day master would then see that the favorable elements. So what are the favorable elements? The favorable elements would then be your water, would then be your earth, and would be your metal. Earth, metal. And so what becomes unfavorable will then be any energy of itself, and also for those that supports it in the area. And so in a way, we can say that if we just follow, if we just follow that little bit into it. Now, from our earlier discussion on the pink fire day masters are very independent. The imagery of the pink fire is like the sun in the sky. So pink fire tends to have a sense of duty to provide for everybody. They tend to have that sense of a sense of leadership. Now, pink fire, of course, can be a bit narcissistic, and usually, pink fire bosses are very opinionated, very stubborn, and they are very persistent in what they want. So therefore, we begin to understand that a little bit. Okay, but at the moment, if we just put everything into plain part, we now come into the part where this represents the fasa. So this fasa represents into what the first impression that this person will give, which is 7K, and the structure will then be here. So therefore, this will then be the structure of the person. Structure here represents, because here this is the month pillar. The month pillar is understood to be the career pillar. The month pillar is also the part where the person move from childhood into young adult. Therefore, this will be the early stage of the person. The energy is strong, raw, and of course, career pillar. So the career pillar represents that this person is a Yi-Wood direct resource. It's a Yi-Wood direct resource. So what does direct resource represent? So what does direct resource represent? So here we can see that, of course, when we want to read, when we want to read. So as we read on the direct resource, of course, we know that this is the rabbit. And then, of course, we have gone through what the rabbit's key reactions will likely be. So whether it will be rabbit against what. So right now, as we speak, what month are we in at the moment? We are now in the month of the monkey. Monkey is ninth. And of course, the following month will then be the rooster. Of course, as you know, the rooster is then 4. Is, sorry, 10. So R10. So R10 is the rooster. And so we know that next month would then be a clash. Next month would be a clash. But this clash, of course, will then be the energy level of this clash is not going to be fantastically very powerful, because we're not looking into luck pillar, we're not looking into year, we're looking to month. We're looking to month. So therefore, it will be some so-called energy level, but not so-called very strong. But anyway, we do see that. Anyway, the year is your ren yin, which is wood. Wood, of course, counter metal, and then water, of course, may consider to be weakening the metal. So therefore, this rooster may not be very strong. So we don't expect, we don't expect. So if we want to do a reading, if we want to read and say, okay, what's going to happen to me this coming month? In fact, in just 1 more week, the rooster month is coming. So what is going to happen to me? Well, the first thing is, of course, a clash. Of course, it's a clash, but uh, it's not going to be something. So as we read along, the clash will be something to do with direct resource. So the clash it's a direct resource being clashed. Direct resource being clashed. In this direct resource being clashed, of course, what does it mean? What does it mean? Well, it could read many things. Direct resource can read things such as your direct resource will be your direct certificate, your direct documents. So therefore, personal documents, passport, identity card. So it may be a scenario whereby you lose your passport or you lost certain invoices that is important to you. You misplace your contract, it gets destroyed. Therefore, those are we're not looking into life-changing scenario. And so, sometimes in life, there are a few days and a few moments in our entire life that are substantial and significant. But then, of course, when we go through the day-to-day operation or life, then studies will be something that we can perhaps be coming to. So direct resource is about sales. It's about sales to a business. Direct resource is your revenue, is your sales. Therefore, it affects into the area of the business in this manner. So it can be health related. So places will be health related, wellness, spa, hospitals, knowledge related areas, library, bookstore, schools, where it might likely happen. And of course, direct resource means mother. This is so for the chart. If this chart is a male, this is a male chart. This is a male chart. So therefore, in this male chart, of course, direct resource represents the mother. Direct resource represents the mother. As it represents the mother, then the mother is in the career pillar, would indicate that the mother may play a role in influencing him to get a job. So that is where we can do the reading for the male. This is relationship. Direct resource represents any noble people, helpful, teacher, keeper, provider of knowledge. Direct resource also represents servants and stuff. So that is why in the ancient Confucius days, the reading for direct resource is leisure life, tai tai. If it's a women's chart with a lot of direct resource is a lot of ladies in waiting. So therefore, there's a lot of people who wait on you. So therefore, there's a leisure life, pleasure life that comes into what the direct resource reading is, as it is. And of course, for the characteristics that most of us would know, direct resource is one of the three nobles: direct wealth, direct officer, direct resource. So in the ancient days, direct resource is one of the three precious gods that is desirable, because people who have the structure of direct resource is deemed to be very cultured, learned, well-mannered, very smart, because resource represents intellect, represents that a person is well-read, person is considerate, kind, and the person that is well-read in this part, the direct resource is Yi Wood, and Yi Wood, of course, represents network. So this person is very knowledgeable in knowing the names of people. Therefore, the who's who, this is person that is also well connected, well connected person. So that's where we can then see as it is. The person is considerate, kind, patient, but a little bit cautious as well, is to see whether a few things. So before we jump, if this rabbit is inauspicious, if this rabbit is being clash, harm, destruct, then the reading may be opposite. So do bear in mind, that the direct resource is there, and these are the features, but these features are features only when it is favorable. And so sometimes our reading may be the opposite. Sometimes when we tell people, oh, I read your chart, I read this person's chart, and this person is knowledgeable, cultured, learned, and then everybody laugh. It's like, please lah, this person is brutish, totally no education at all, impatient, impulsive. Then the reading is opposite. So the reading is opposite. So opposite because whatever it is, the feature represents the things that people remember them for. People remember them. That's how we can see how the red resource comes in. Okay, so here this is a strong pink fire. So a strong pink fire do not unfavorable. So the unfavorable element, of course, is wood, and unfavorable is, well, fire. And therefore, this is unfavorable to a certain parts. This is a bit more unfavorable in the yield. And furthermore, there's a death and emptiness. So the pillar is in death and emptiness. So at death and emptiness, of course, you just take about 25% discount. So therefore, this rabbit is. But one more thing we can see, if you remember, rabbit and dog, of course, are combo. So rabbit and dog are combo. And rabbit and dog combines to produce what? Rabbit and dog combines to produce what? To produce fire. So rabbit and dog combines to produce. And here we can see that there's water in the chart, and there's water in the chart and fire in the chart. So this chart has a combination of both fire and water, a lot and everywhere. A lot and everywhere. And so there's a lot of internal clashes. There's a lot of internal clashes because there's a fire and water clash everywhere. And so resulting from this combination, then we can then see that this pink fire may be more vulnerable to destructions and clashes, and those may actually provide some, in a way, balance in the person's life. Right now, more to come into that as you try to associate this. Now, one more thing that we may want to consider. Can also see that when we talk about clash, also when we talk about clash, destruction, we talk about harm. Besides career, besides family, of course, health is another thing to look at. Health is another thing to look at. And so this person has rabbit in the chart. This person has dog in the chart. Okay, so anyway, let's just focus on rabbit because this person has a rabbit in the chart. And next month, the month of the rooster clashes the rabbit. As the rooster clashes the rabbit, so the health related areas could be fingers, hair, liver, or the male organ. And the thing about rooster and rabbit also, uh, rooster and rabbit, that kind of clash also may indicate something to do with, something to do with the with impotence, with to do with sexual impotence as well. Therefore, but of course, it is not in a natal chart, so it's not going to be something that is uh, that is going to be permanent or long lasting. But somehow that would be just the minor impact to the person, also impact to things like you. So this may be something that we can then read along And of course, if it is something of a stronger energy, especially when it is a luck pillar, then we may have to be more cautious that the health related area may be something to do with areas related to this. Okay. We take a look into another chart. So shall we take a look into yet another chart? This is also another pink fire day master. I think after we have done pink fire just 2 weeks ago, I think there'll be more requests for pink fire. So I might as well wrap up all the pink fire people here today. And we'll move along to others. Okay, step one, strong day master or weak. Chou is what? What season is this? Winter, that is right, correct. So with the winter season, pink fire is weak. Is it rooted? Yes, it is rooted. And not just rooted, it's sitting on resource. Huh? So rooted and sitting on resource, somewhat strong, not very strong, born out of season. And again, I think I remind you that every time you look at Fire Day Master, every time you look at Fire Day Master, the hour that they're born is important. Huh? The hour that they're born. And therefore here we have a pink fire born at night. Huh? Born at night, out of place. So there's pink fire born out. So the thing is, pink fire good to born during the day, pink fire good to be born at night. That's when they shine, that's when they notice. Huh? Therefore, pink fire here born out of time. Huh? It's also another consideration to look at. All right, let's come to that. This is, so here, of course, we have the tiger, we have the dragon, we have the ox. And again, if you like, let's just once again get familiar with the area on how we can see what happens to the ox. Huh? So uh, no, actually, no, when we talk about harm and clash and destructions and punishment, you know what? Sometimes, to most people, we, there's not much of a difference, lah. Huh? A clash and a punishment and a harm, the impact is like a negative impact to some of them as you come along. So anyway, let's once again, if you have an ox is two, so an ox is two, isn't it? So ox is two, then what happens? Well, 2 plus 1 is 3. That's for sure. 2 plus 4 is 6. Then to get 9 is 2 plus 7 is 9. Of course, 7 minus, then of course, how else can we get 6? 8 minus 2 is 6. Is that correct? And if you want 5 minus 2 is 3. And if you want, what else do you want? If you want a 9, no, you cannot take it. 11 minus 9. Huh? All right. Okay. So you can see, you take what? 11. Does it count this way? 11 to minus 2 is 9. And so once again, we will try to get a 369. And then we'll see what are the animals that will have an impact to you. Then have your red, 1, 4, 7, 8, 5, 11. So these are some of the animals that have an impact. And so let's see, for example, what is 1. And of course, 2 and 1 is a combo. So ox and rat is a combo. This combo, of course, may mean combine and combine away. So again, a combination doesn't mean it is positive. If all your elements are combined away, that might also spell the demise of the person, yeah? As it is. 4, so what do we have for 4? So ox and 4, there's an empty one here. Don't have. Then of course we look into the rest. We have a 5, 5 minus 2, so 5 minus 2. 5 minus 2 is your destruction. So you have a destruction here. And of course you have your 8. 8. 8. And 8 minus 2 is 6. So you have clash and punishment. Usually, minus 1 is negative. So you have your punishment. So you have your clash and your punishment. So clash and your punishment. Then of course, what else do you have? 5. So yeah, so 5 is destruction, and 11 is punishment. Punishment. 7 is harm. 7 is harm. Okay. All right. And of course, as you know, ox belongs to what? What is the ox combination? Ox combination is 四有仇, which is your 6, 10, and 2. 6, 2, 6, 10. Okay, 2, 6, 10. Correct. So 2, 6, 10, 2, 6, 10 is your metal. This is your metal trinity. So once again, 2 plus 6 plus 1 equals to 9. Therefore, the metal trinity, 2 plus 6 plus 1 is 9, which is again another 369. So in all aspect, if I mean, come on, if you can remember everything here, then all the better, isn't it? You can straight away know what clashes, what harm, and what destruction. That can be very useful. That can be very useful. And if you cannot, just take the sequence and then you plus and you minus. As long as you get 369, there is a relationship. There is a relationship. And this relationship, again, bear in mind that it is not, bear in mind that it is not, it should be on the first instant treated as neutral. Treated as neutral. Should not be treated as immediately something very bad. And then we also have to see what energy that comes with it as it is. Okay, right. So this will be the 12 animals and the interaction of the animals with other animals that comes into it as well. So at the end of the day, is 3, 6, or 9. The power of 3, 6, or 9, one way or the other. In fact, even the magic, even the Loshu also, even if you remember the flying stars, isn't it? All of them will end up with 6 one. All of them. 15. 15. So in any way, when you fly the numbers, if you fly the numbers, the 6 is here, 7 is here. What is here? There's 2 here, 1 here, 3 here, 4 here, 8 here, 9 here, as it is. And therefore, when you fly the numbers, you will always try to, you'll get back to your 15, isn't it? So this way. Sorry, Chen. That's right. 4 is here, 3 is here. Okay, thank you. All right, so therefore 492, 357, and it. So as you know, when you add up anywhere, it's always 15. It's always 15. And 15, of course, is 6. The vortex mathematics is 6. So flying star, same. So that's why Pak Chi is to diagnose, Feng Shui is to cure. So then how to cure is also to use Feng Shui, and the flying stars, combine them together to actually diffuse them, knock it out, reduce their energy, something along the line. All right, more to come on to that. Okay, so here, as we can then identify that number one, whether the pink fire is a strong one or a weak one, season is very important. So since season covers about 80% of it, Therefore, this day master is weak. Now, when you are weak, you would then want to have more wood, and you may want to have more fire. So those are your favorable. So those are favorable, and then the rest are all your unfavorable. So if it is unfavorable, and of course anything that is unfavorable, dead season, therefore when it is so-called clash away, combined, it might provide the experience may be negative, but the outcome at the end of the day could be positive. Could be positive. That comes into the piece. Okay, so in every aspect again. So therefore, if we want something if we want something to then play along, very easy. This is a very quick one. No, like I said, it's a very quick one. So ox is two. So ox is two. This is two. This is tiger. Tiger is your three, and dragon is your five. Five. Okay, so therefore, when we look into the month, we look into the month. So let's say, for example, next month is the month of the rooster. The month of the rooster is month 10. 10, nothing. 10 and 2, nothing, nothing. 10 and 3, nothing. 5 and 10, nothing much. So therefore, the rooster doesn't seem to have an impact. So therefore, not to worry about. And so it comes now to the next part. Then we have the dog. Then we have the pig. And so once we have the pig, then we can see how each of them comes to do. Oh yeah, combination, correct. So 5 and 10. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Rooster is 10. 10, 10, 5. So 6. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Thank you. Thank you for that. So you're right. So therefore, there's a combination. So there's a rooster to dragon combination. So look at that. So in that case, you can see that the coming month of the rooster will have an impact onto the hour pillar. There's a combination, and so the dragon may be combined away. What is the production? What does dragon and rooster produces? What element does it produce? And whether it will take place? Metal produces metal. Metal is money. Metal is money to the pink fire. Therefore, if the combination works because the season is winter, therefore here we might find that it may be occasion that when metal is produced, it provides money opportunity, and the hour pillar is investment pillar. So investment pillar is the children's pillar. Right. Okay. So therefore that's where this is so the numbering system can be quick. The numbering system can be quick to size up, because there's so many relationship. So once you size up, then you can then quickly go and check the metrics and see what are the relationships that you then have. Okay, now next, of course, here we just want to cover the 10 gods. The fasa, so the fasa is direct resource. So when people see this pink fire, the first impression they get is that this person is well-mannered, is very well-mannered, educated, learned. That's the first impression that people will get. And it is rooted. It is rooted, and wood is pretty strong in winter. So as a result, this fasa give them the intellect that this person appears to be intelligent, and it can be sustained. And the structure is hurting officer. So therefore, the structure is a hurting officer. So what does hurting officer basically entail? Hurting officer is about performance, performing theaters, concert, stadium, stage, anything to do with marketing, creativity. Again, if we talk about things being clash, things being combined away, things being harm, disrupt, it could be things related to your work related materials. I mean, bad luck could be where, if it is clash, your presentation files got deleted, your ideas harm gets prevented, turned down, rejected. Clients do not welcome your inventions. Things that hurting officer is about breaking the rule. Hurting officer is about out of the box. And hurting officer is the son to a female child. So if this child is female, if this child is female, if this is a female pink lady, now pink fire lady should marry later. Pink fire lady shouldn't marry so early in life. And of course, if we want to look into a son, she has a son here, she has a son here. So these are the two sons of hers, which is hurting office. And then she has a daughter and a daughter. So therefore, two daughters, two sons coming up into here. Right now, so therefore that would be children. What does the children mean to her? The husband is here together with the son. Most likely met the first lover very early in life, but then marry somebody from work, and of course got pregnant during work stage as well, as it is. Right. So anyway, hurting officer. So you look into hurting officer. Hurting officer represents a person that tends to break the rules, very rebellious. They are rebellious. They like to challenge authority. They are very forceful. When they're intelligent, they become very sarcastic. And if the hurting officer is unfavorable, if hurting officer is so-called in very negative, inauspicious sign, therefore the opposite will be true. They will be very meek, very fearful of authority. In a way, they become very subdued. That would be just, again, we need to understand that all these features is assuming that it is favorable and the elements are strong. The elements. So if a hurting officer is in a favorable condition, then they are very creative, they are outspoken, they are very opinionated. But if it's unfavorable, they become stubborn, and normally that leads to their downfall. All are the same as well. So hurting officer, usually, of course, it is best for hurting officer to be self-employed. Yeah, it's better for hurting officer to be self-employed, so to speak. Right. So this is where we combine. If you have, what do we have? We have hurting officer element in your chart as well, and we can actually combine them. All right, just a little bit more on the last part as a bit of a bonus. We just take a look into a chart that is a combination of both, I would like to say. So we talk about direct resource, we talk about hurting officer. So let's take a look into this chart by Martin. This is your Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King is a Keng Shen Day Master. Okay, first thing first, once again, what is the season? The season is winter, winter season. Ox, the same. And this Day Master is metal. It's a metal Day Master. So it's a metal Day Master. The person is weak, that's right. But somehow it is rooted because it is sitting on it's sitting on the self. It's sitting on the self. Right. And so in the first part, we come to understand what is the structure of the person. The structure of the person will then be we can look into direct resource. We can look into hurting officer. Look into hurting officer. And if you want to consider this, that in winter, of course, water is very strong. Water is very strong. And when we consider that there is a little bit more of a controlling part, because as you know, Qi Earth, and there's a bit of an earth controlling water. There's an earth controlling water element inside. And here, as we read along the structure, we may say that even though this is the month of the ox, where the main chi is earth, but somehow the sub chi apparently may appears to be stronger. Normally, the sub chi is stronger depending on at which time in January that it was born. I think if you can remember from Minks, if they were born in the first 5 days to 5 days, then we may see that the structure is more towards the water rather than the earth. So when it comes to the graveyard starts, so when we look into the graveyard, the sub-chi will be uh, a bit more attention is paid to the sub-chi, bit more attention to paid to the sub-chi in order to look into the main structure. So one may say that Martyr Luther King may be more of a hurting officer rather than a direct resource, rather than a direct resource. It could be both. It could be both. It is both. It is both into a certain degree, and these two normally creates a bit more of an internal clash between the characteristics. But of course, in history, Martin Luther King, I believe, studied law, so he's a lawyer. A lawyer fits. A lawyer fits into a direct resource character. Direct resource is well learned, educated, and to be a lawyer seems to be quite one that is closer to resource or even to direct officer. One can say that. While hurting officer, of course, on the other hand, represents a person that is a rebellious, an activist, uh, one that is outspoken, one that challenge the convention and the authority that comes along the line. All right, so this is to look into the person's life as well. But of course, as we run through the chart, I think this is also something that we also already know as we run through very quickly the chart numbers here. And then we do this together with this part, as it is. Okay, therefore the dragon is 5, the ox is 2, the monkey is 9, and the horse is 7. And therefore, with this in mind, then once again, we can run through it. And in a way, 7 minus, sorry, 7 plus 2. So 7 plus 2, 7 plus 2 is 9. 7 minus 2 is, 7 plus 2 is 9. It comes into this. And then, of course, we can also straight away see that 5 minus 2 is 3 and 9. And of course, once we, as I said, for this, can in a way see that there's a lot of destruction. And in this chart, it helps a bit to identify that there's harm in a chart. There is already some so-called destruction in the chart. So usually this would details that there are certain inherent clash in the person's personality. So people like that usually will have quite a conflicting life in them in that chart. Okay, more to come in the future series that we have. So maybe the main sharing today is to just give a bit of a tip about the 369 and how you can just look at the numbers, play around with the 369, and you can form the earthly relationship between one with the other. Okay, so time's up for today. That's all the time that I have. So I'll share, but next week